name of our Lord Savior Jesus Christ. The theme for today's meditation is proud, the arresting party. In Jesus' journey towards the cross, we come across a group of people sent with a mission to arrest Jesus. The Gospels refer to them as a crowd, people who necessarily do not know or need to know each other. They may or may not meet or engage with each other in the future also. They have been made to come together for a specific reason, to arrest Jesus. Matthew's Gospel points out that they were a large crowd. Their number was sizable. John's Gospel tells us that a cohort, a group of about 600 soldiers, along with the police, literally operatives or assistants, they were sent. Some of them may have been mercenaries hired to strengthen this arresting party. They were not just police or army battalions. This crowd has been gathered from different people groups. They were given specific instructions to arrive there fully armed with torches and weapons like swords and clubs, as if they are going to arrest a dangerous criminal, a bandit. Jesus asked the crowd as to why they have come fully armed with such additional reinforcements, as if to catch a bandit. A bandit is not just a common thief who primarily robs someone with stealth, trying to avoid direct confrontation with the one he or she robs. A bandit, on the other hand, is armed and never hesitates to unleash violence upon those whom they want to kill. In Jesus' Palestine, the word bandit was also used to refer to the revolutionaries who opposed the Roman Empire and the local rulers with violence. Barabbas is likely one of them. He was in prison for insurrection in the city and murder. The arrest of such a bandit and a violent fugitive running away from justice may perhaps need an armed party accomplishing task. However, Jesus was not a bandit. His teachings were directly against the empire and the local leaders, and was mostly condemning the temple authority in the temple premises itself. He was considered to be a leader instigating the masses against the empire and was accused of claiming to be the king of the Jews. But Jesus was different from any bandit in that he was against the use of violence. Even in Gethsemane, he condemns his disciples' violent actions and heals multitudes. Jesus could be compared to a non-violent leader who sides with the dispossessed common people against the powerful rulers. Yet, a fully armed crowd is needed to take him in because his speech and actions were considered more dangerous by the rulers. The armed crowd is orchestrated by a specific group who does not want to get their hands dirty directly. The Gospels clearly spell out that the local religious leaders who work in collusion with the empire is responsible for assembling and sending this crowd. The chief priests, elders, scribes, and Pharisees were those who sent this crowd along with Judas, hired as a guide. Luke's Gospel stresses the involvement of these men by pointing out that the crowd itself is comprised of the chief priests, officers of the temple, and the elders. Whether the chief priests were actually in Gethsemane or not, the crowd was completely representing those who sent them. The crowd has no specific identity or will of its own. It is assembled and disassembled, manipulated to get the work done for specific people. This crowd does not get assembled on its own like a protest group or a mob. This is a hired group which is brought together. They may have come there for different purposes. Some may have come for money, some because there is no other way, like police, servants, slaves and soldiers, all for their livelihood, survival. This crowd is also dispossessed by the empire, and the empire itself is offering them livelihood by making them use the taxes. Some of them may have been brainwashed to think that whatever they are doing is for good, for the nation, for the temple, and for God. As an individual, some may have thought that what they are doing is not fair, but as a crowd, they still accomplish the dirty task at hand of violently arresting an innocent person and ready to inflict violence as orchestrated, letting themselves be manipulated. Let us introspect ourselves. Our world and even our country are no different. When common people are raising voice against the rulers, a crowd comprising police, army, hired mercenaries, and brainwashed zealots are brought together to quell the protest with violence and arrest non-violent leaders of these voices. We have been seeing this in Kudangulam, in Kashmir, in Assam, in Bengal, in different public university campuses, and recently in Shaheen Bagh. This reminds us as how Indian soldiers were used to kill Indians during the British Raj, how Dalits are used to mete out violence to other marginalized communities. Even though the individuals in the crowd may or may not believe what they do is right, they let themselves be orchestrated by the powerful and the rulers. It is easy to find fault with others and point out others' weaknesses. Today, let us introspect ourselves. Our world and even our country are no different. When common people are raising voice against the rulers, a crowd comprising police, army, hired mercenaries, and brainwashed zealots are brought together to quell protest with violence and arrest non-violent leaders of these voices. We have been seeing this in Kudangulam, Kashmir, in Assam, Bengal, in various public university campuses, and recently in Shaheen Bagh. This reminds us as how Indian soldiers were used to kill Indians during the British Raj, how Dalits are used to mete out violence to other marginalized communities. Even though the individuals in the crowd may or may not believe what they do is right, they let themselves be orchestrated by the powerful and the rulers. It is easy to find fault with others and point out others' weaknesses. Today, let us introspect ourselves. Whether I have been part of such a crowd or made to act in such a crowd to accomplish dirty things for the powerful. Am I involved in silencing or leading to the murder of someone? Am I allying with the empire unknowingly or unable to resist its temptation? Am I thinking that I am doing this as part of my job? Some of them may have thought that Jesus is opposing the priest, so that means Jesus is against the temple and God. Am I also thinking like that and justifying my violent acts? Am I fostering the mob mentality that uncritically engages in acts of violence at the behest of others? Let us look to God in prayer. Our dear Lord Jesus, you have traversed the way of the cross before us. We look to you for help. Help us to discern our time, our job, our intention, and our justification. We submit ourselves to your will. Help us not to let ourselves be orchestrated by the powerful and the empire. Rather, to do your will towards the extension of your kingdom here on earth. Amen.